Happy Thursday. What an incredible day to be alive. On the podcast today, on this bright and sunny Arizona morning, I am bringing you some really interesting news about Anthropic and its end of the world, groundbreaking sort of policy that they're going to be rolling out to prevent AI from conquering the world and putting us all into an apocalypse. So, really interesting stuff. Exciting podcast for you today. Let's jump into it. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Make sure that you go to aibox.ai, link in the show notes, to join the waitlist for our new AI platform. We're going to be launching an incredible platform that allows you to build anything you want with workflows in AI. So you're able to chain together ChatGPT and image generators and audio generators to make really powerful apps for your organization, or you can host them on our marketplace and actually generate royalties from them. So make sure to go to aibox.ai and join the waitlist. In addition, if you like the podcast, if you could do me a massive favor and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. This helps me be able to get better guests on here as they check the reviews to see how you guys are liking it. So if you could please do that, I would really, really appreciate it.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
As AI systems become increasingly sophisticated, there is a need to handle them with care. This is according to Anthropic, who is the AI kind of safety company that's behind Claude's chatbot. And they are kind of like, they've been positioning themselves as like the safe or responsible AI from the very beginning. I think this is great. I think they saw a big boom when ChatGPT came out and people noticed it had hallucinations and was, not always perfect. And then they're like, see, we need to be responsible and we need to be safe. It could lead to the end of the world. So I think right now they're making a big move to kind of position themselves in this way again, which I think is really smart, great business move. So kind of stepping into this, the company has unveiled a new policy that outlines its dedication to the responsible expansion of AI systems. And they're calling this the responsible scaling policy. So this framework is particularly tailored to address what Anthropic labels as quote unquote catastrophic risks. So those type of risks represent, situations where AI's action could directly instigate massive calamities. So, imagining unsettling events leading to, quote, thousands of deaths or hundreds of billions of dollars in damage, end quote, right? So they're really looking at like the worst case scenario for AI, and they're trying to build a framework to avoid those situations. So what is the distressing part? These catastrophes would be unprecedented incidents that wouldn't have transpired without the AI's involvement. And that's kind of their framework for saying, what they're really specifically trying to avoid. So in a new conversation that they recently had, Anthropic's co-founder, Sam McCaldish, talked a little bit about the motivation and intricacies of this new framework. At its core, the policy introduces AI safety levels, which is a stratified risk system mirroring the U.S. government's biosafety levels earmarked for biological research. So this 4-tiered ASL spectrum spans from ASL-O, and of course ASL is AI safety levels, but ASL-O indicating a low-risk entity to ASL-3 marking a high-risk system. So McCandish pretty much said, quote, "There is always some level of arbitrariness in drawing boundaries, but we wanted to roughly reflect different tiers of risks. So he recognized that the AI models of today might not be immediate threats. So, ChatGPT isn't about to take over the world or release all of the world's nuclear missiles, but the future landscape might be very different. So highlighting the policy's adaptability, he mentioned, quote, "It's not a static or comprehensive document. We envision it as a living entity, ever evolving based on our experiences and the feedback we gather." Anthropic's kind of ambition is straightforward, but I think it's really interesting. Essentially, they want to kind of harness competitive dynamics to navigate crucial safety hurdles. And this vision, they're saying, is going to ensure that the pursuit of safer AI paradigms doesn't just resulted in people are actually making these things safer. So, and they're worried about like quote unquote aggressive scaling, which I'm not sure if that means their competitors going a lot faster than them, or they're saying there's some actual danger. But in any case, McCandlish was candid about the complexities in this whole mission, saying, quote, "We can never be totally sure we are catching everything, but we will certainly aim to." This is really interesting. Like, they really are trying to position themselves as being like the AI, the responsible AI and the safe AI people. So another feature in this whole RSP's framework they have is its emphasis on independent oversight. So no modifications to this policy can proceed without board approval. And this might sound really cumbersome, but they believe that making a measure like that is really valuable, explaining, quote, "Given our dual roles in rolling out models and also appraising them for safety, there exists a genuine concern. There's always a lurking temptation to perhaps be lenient on our tests, an outcome we ardently wish to sidestep." This is interesting, right? They're putting up some internal governance, and I do respect and appreciate that. This move by Anthropic, a lot of people are saying, couldn't be more timely. So the AI domain obviously is, has a ton of new companies rolling out very, very quickly. And Anthropic, with its roots kind of tracing back to some former members of OpenAI, and of course boosted by substantial investments from tech giants like Google. This is, when they talk about it, they're like, we have substantial investments from tech giants like Google. Also, substantial investments from Sam Bankman-Fried, who, famously led FTX, which was a massive Ponzi scheme. But I mean, aside from that, it's not throwing shade at Anthropic. They just took money that they probably thought was good money at the time, but it's, probably just a little blight on their history that they don't like to bring up when they talk about their, substantial investors. I think Sam Bankman-Fried put in like over 500 million and Google put in like 300 million much later. So it's just funny that they only bring up substantial investments from Google. In any case, Claude's chatbot, which is Anthropic's, of course, first kind of ChatGPT competitor. I love it personally. It's great. You can put the context window is massive on it. So if I have 10 articles I need to throw in there and get it to consolidate them all, it can do stuff like that, which ChatGPT obviously cannot. So I do like Claude. It actively deters harmful user prompts by looking for potential hazards. I haven't run into this myself because I mostly just use it for summarizing long articles, complex topics, complex AI stuff to, get good kind of bullet points for this podcast, essentially. So I've used it for that. I haven't had them kind of ban me from asking about a specific topic. I haven't asked them about making, or disposing of radioactive waste or something. But in any case, the capabilities stem from Anthropic's quote-unquote constitutional AI strategy. Now, for those that don't know, I would look up constitutional AI. I do actually agree with that strategy. Essentially what it's saying is a lot of times there's not a lot of transparency in AI models. We don't know why OpenAI is, some people call it censoring, some people call it guardrails of different topics, right? You ask it to do something and it's like, sorry, I can't do that. Or sorry, this is not a good topic. Or I don't know. ChatGPT has their own guardrails, right? Their trust and safety team. Now, those might not all be bad. There's definitely people that will argue whether some of them are good or bad and some biases in it and whatnot. But the problem I have with it is that they're not transparent. So you don't know what the guardrails are specifically. And so constitutional AI is a model that Claude has adapted, where essentially the AI model has a quote unquote constitution that every response has to look at to make sure it follows a set of guidelines or ideologies. Now, you might not agree with a specific AI model's constitution, but I think it's really important that it's transparent, right? I'm thrilled to use an AI model that has a constitution. It might not be exactly one that I love. Maybe there's one or two points on there I don't like, but at least I know where it's coming from and it's transparent. So I really do appreciate that transparency from different models, because I hate using something and it, feeling like maybe the response it gave me has some sort of like bias, not just because of the data, but like that the creators or the developers who probably live in San Francisco and have a bunch of ideologies that some of them I agree with and some of them I don't, may have imposed or injected into this thing, and its responses are reflective of that, but I don't know, right? I don't like that kind of algorithmic serving me up of information and me not having transparency. I think everyone wants more transparency in everything. So long story short, constitutional AI, good move by Anthropic. Now, I think a lot of these methodologies employ chain of thought reasoning, which in turn amplifies the transparency and efficiency of AI's decision from a human perspective. With fewer human labels, I think this also paves the way for modeling AI systems that are both ethical and secure. I really do think it pushes it in that direction, which is good. So right now, the emergence of this RSP coupled with research into constitutional AI, I think underpins Anthropic's move and commitment to AI safety. This is the direction that they're looking at. Now, I'm going to put a caveat on this whole thing and say some of the downsides to this, but I really do think they probably have good intentions here. And by kind of trying to trim down risks while amplifying benefits, Anthropic is essentially trying to, has a set of commendable benchmarks for AI's future trajectory. That's their goal, right? Now, the one thing I will say that did strike me as being slightly, a little bit of a red flag, a little bit of alarm bells, is when they talked about the fact that, today's AI models might not be immediate threats, but that the future landscape might look very different. For some reason, I just got this, like, my spidey senses were tingling, and it kind of made me think of the fact that, they're doing this internal governance right now. Very cool. They have like different tiers of like what risks they think a new model will come up with. Very cool. All of a sudden, I kind of started thinking about the fact that governments will probably, in all the regulations, want to adopt probably a similar structure to this, where your AI model has to get like evaluated. And there's going to be governments all around the world. I don't think this is controversial to say that the Chinese government is going to approve different AI models than America. I mean, this is already happening, but it's just, I don't know, sometimes it feels a little dystopian in America to think that in the future, there's going to be these like bootlegged models with no safety rails on them that go one way or the other. And, the government decides that they're like highly dangerous. It's going to be like interesting. It's like, I wonder if you could get like in trouble for having a USB thumb drive with like some sort of bootleg AI model that's super dangerous on it. Of course, there's like hackers that are going to have bad stuff that is probably bad, doing bad things, but it'll be interesting, right? Like a totally the equivalent of ChatGPT. It's going to be completely open source. The government's going to try to shut it down for X, Y, and Z reason. Maybe it's a Republican in office. Maybe it's a Democrat in office. I don't know, right? Like people, of course, are going to have their own reasons why they think this thing is going to be bad. It's going to be the bureaucracy of people that we are essentially have not elected as well, right? So all of the different federal agencies are going to want to get involved. These are bureaucrats that no one elected, but they're going to want to try to impose their will on AI. I don't know. It's just a fun little dystopian future that I think inevitably we're going to have to face. But I just wonder if there's going to be this like guy running around with a USB thumb drive, and it's like the equivalent of having like an automatic weapon today. That's like, of course, if you have an automatic weapon in America, those are illegal without the licenses and you go to jail. It's like you have this thumb drive with this highly dangerous AI model on it, and they like the FBI busts into your house and like, arrests you, pulls you out because of that. Anyways, it's going to be a fun future. But so that's the only thing that is my that I'm a little bit skeptical about is like when talking about these regulations. Oh, and the whole reason I bring this up is it really the government that feels threatened by maybe an AI model that has the truth about X, Y, and Z topic they don't want you to know? Or is it that right now, OpenAI is the number one lobbyist that's helping to build these laws? Are they going to build laws that say, different AI models are not safe for X, Y, and Z reasons, and they are, and so they, penalize their competitors? That's really what I'd be concerned about. I know I paint a fun dystopian future about where the government's going to chase us down for our thumb drives and AI models, but really in reality, it's probably going to be someone like ChatGPT and other big AI companies that are building regulations, building a regulatory moat right now. That's really what their vision is with regulation. I don't think they're worried about how they're using AI. I think they're just worried that maybe their competitors can catch up and they can build a regulatory moat. So in any case, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I do think that Anthropic probably has, pure intentions on this right now, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the future. Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.